A federal judge in California refused to stop the Oakland eviction moratorium because the moratorium supposedly is temporary, even though it's been nearly 3 years since it started. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an update for you today, and it's going over the Oakland and Alameda County, California eviction moratoriums. Now, I reported a while ago that landlords were suing over these eviction moratoriums, saying, "Hey, this is an unlawful taking of private property for public use without just compensation," right? Well, a federal judge disagrees and believes that, hey, these eviction moratoriums are just fine because they're temporary. What a bunch of garbage, okay? I can't believe that a federal judge is sitting here nearly 3 years after these eviction moratoriums were put in place talking about they're temporary. Well, by the same logic, you could say, well, the eviction moratorium only lasts 100 years and then we ended it. So basically the landlord has to suffer nonstop until, because, years on end is supposed, no, okay? I think that this case is going to be pushed up to, the appeals court, and knowing the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in California is very left-leaning, I bet it will probably have to go all the way up to Supreme Court. And I don't know if the Supreme Court's even going to hear this case. I hope they do. They are the ones who actually got the original federal eviction moratoriums thrown out. And if they, took the time and then passed something that covered the entire country and made it so all of these eviction moratoriums were illegal, I'd be very, very happy. Just pleased to say that, hey, this stuff won't happen to us again, okay? But I don't know if all that's going to happen. For now, though, landlords in Oakland and Alameda County, California have suffered a loss, and they just have to just keep pushing forward. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, okay? Do you believe that this case will make it all the way up to the Supreme Court? And do you think if it does that it will be thrown out? Or, what do you think is going to happen? It's likely that the Supreme Court will not get to see, or not decide to see the case, even though this case is very important for landlords throughout the entire country. Because if Oakland and Alameda County are allowed to keep this eviction moratorium rolling, then that's just saying that landlords anywhere in the entire country could be suffering underneath eviction moratoriums that cities put in place for indefinite periods of time, okay? And I don't agree with that. So anyway, let's get into this article. This article is coming from oaklandside.org, and it says, "Judge allows Oakland eviction moratorium to stand for now." The order is a blow to landlords who sued Oakland and Alameda County this year, but the case is not over. Yeah, it's not over yet, right? Long as the landlords there still, want to pay the legal fees to continue and push it forward, it's not over yet. Okay, so let's get into it. A federal judge has denied an initial attempt by landlords to strike down Oakland and Alameda County's eviction moratoriums, meaning the bans on removing tenants from their housing will remain in effect while a court case considering the policy's constitutionality continues. Judge Laurel Beeler's order, issued Tuesday evening, is a significant step in a lawsuit filed by a group of rental property owners in March. The landlords argue that the city and county COVID-19 eviction bans in place since March 2020 constitute an illegal taking of private property by the government and violate state law. And I agree with that, okay? Now, you can't say at this point in time that this isn't an illegal taking of property, okay? The government came in there. They said, hey, you cannot do with your property as you see fit. You have to house this tenant, and we're not going to guarantee you compensation, okay? So taking of private property for public use, right? So the public is the tenant, right? The government says you have to house somebody that you don't want to house in your property. You cannot evict them, and you're not getting paid for it, right? Without just compensation. That's that part right there. That's a Fifth Amendment violation, okay? And people, they don't bring this stuff up And I can't believe that a judge saw it. No, no, well, it's completely, it's legal. All right, let's get into the part where the judge says their reasoning behind it, okay? Beeler disagreed that the city and county are taking landlords' property, writing in her 40-page order that the moratoriums are temporary, do not absolve renters of their obligation to pay rent, and include exceptions allowing the landlord to leave the rental business. So the judge is saying, "Oh well, this is temporary, right? This doesn't hurt you. You could just go out of business, right?" I mean, imagine that the government comes in and says, "Oh, well, you know what? The grocery store doesn't have to accept any money, but it'll be temporary. It only, you have to give all your food away for the next 5 years. And if you don't want to do it, you could just go out of business," right? That is the stupidest thing I've heard, okay? This judge is a moron. I cannot believe that this person thinks that, oh, well, years on end of eviction moratoriums is cool, and then telling them that the solution, the out is you can go out of business. What a joke, okay? That's so disrespectful. I mean, this is just wrong. Just pure wrong. Oakland and Alameda County had the authority under state law to pass local eviction moratorium ordinances that went further than California's statewide tenant protection, she said. The COVID-19 pandemic caused an unprecedented spike in unemployment and other economic disruptions that threatened to cause thousands of people to become homeless. Oakland's eviction moratorium, authored by council members Nikki Fortunato Bass and Dan Kolb, with City Attorney Barbara Parker, was designed to preserve and increase housing security for Oakland residents, according to the legislation. So, this is my great issue with all of this, right? They're like, okay, well, yeah, they had the right, according to state law, to implement this policy, right? Which is true. However, the state law is unconstitutional according to the Constitution of the United States of America. And guess what? That trumps state law. Okay? These people don't seem to realize that, hey, you just cannot come in there and take away people's property rights. You cannot do that. Goodness, this case needs so badly to get up to the Supreme Court because they're never going to change. They're just going to sit there. They're going to grind in their feet, say, "Oh, I was right. We need to protect these people's housing." Here we are. We're 3 years later, right? Everything is opened back up. There are no stay-at-home orders in place, etc. Right? The virus has turned into nothing more than a cold, and you're still telling me they need these eviction moratoriums in place. That's garbage. And we all know it. Everyone knows that it's garbage. I think that if you told these people putting these laws in place that, hey, as long as the landlord's not getting paid, you're not getting paid either. Well, suddenly they'd be like, well, you know what? Maybe this doesn't need to be permanent. Okay? So, they say all that stuff, right? They say all this, and then they blame the pandemic, right? Oh, it was COVID's fault. No, it wasn't, right? The lawmakers in the state are the ones that shut businesses down, not the illness, okay? The lawmakers, the government is the one who did that. They made the decision that they were going to tell people they could not go to work, okay? They cost thousands of people their jobs. They cost thousands of businesses. They caused them to go out of business. And then they're going to have the nerve to say, well, this was the fault of... It's an illness, okay? Now, I'm not denying that people did die of this illness, right? What I am saying is let the business owners be the ones to decide whether they, want to operate their business or not. Do not take away their rights and then sit there and then, gaslight us like this, okay? It's so frustrating, okay? I cannot believe that the people of California put ridiculous politicians in place who do not care about people's property rights, okay? Both the city and county ordinances require tenants to continue paying rent, but prohibit landlords from kicking them out if they miss payments. Evictions are not allowed in almost all cases, with some exemptions for direct safety threats posed by tenants or if the landlord wants to take the building off the rental market. So, yeah, the ordinance require you have to keep paying your rent, but no, you can't evict them. Well, then you understand you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, okay? If you tell somebody, well, you have to pay rent, but it's impossible for them to evict you, well, then you're telling me that I don't have to pay rent because I can't be evicted. That's the only thing I was worried about. You know, why would I ever pay my rent? You know, they don't seem to understand the logic behind what a lot of these professional tenants and what the people who are abusing the system have, okay? Their logic is, I'm going to stay here for free for as long as possible. I'm going to use it up. I'm going to suck them dry of all their money. I'm essentially a thief, right? It's like, you know, you open up the vault to the bank, right? You're like, hey, do not steal from the bank, but if you do steal, we're not going to arrest you or punish you in any way. What a joke. Excuse me. So, yeah, bad news for landlords up in Oakland and Alameda County, California. I hope that, you know, your case gets heard by the, Court of Appeals. I know that it's probably an uphill battle trying to get, these laws thrown out, right? But it needs to happen. This temporary law, as you can tell, is slowly becoming permanent. And, there's no end to it according to their, to anything. There's just no end. So what is a small landlord supposed to do?